Yeah. Not my best game, but let's go over it. As you may have seen in my last video, I'm making a push for the National Master title. I ended up winning my first game against Alan Peng with the Hippo here in the second game that I've played, actually round 4, since I took a bye in the first 2 rounds in this tournament. I am going up against Noah Ward, over a 2,300 ELO player, only 14 years old, so I mean, very strong, up-and-coming player, gaining points, going up the ranks like crazy. And here I am as white, and you know me, I'm playing the Hippo. I played smooth b3. By the way, I'm pretty sure that he prepped for the Hippo because he played a very strong setup against it. Even then, we're pretty much dead even, and we're fine. But okay, yeah, I just go into my Hippo setup. As you can see here, Noah goes for that 3-pawn center, and on top of that, he tucks his knights on d7 and e7. This seems very purposeful for the idea of supporting this pawn on d5. So even if I do play a move like c4, it's very well supported. Right on top of that, this knight is looking to come to g6 and put another supporting piece on that f4 pawn. And okay, here I played the move of knight f3. I thought quite a bit about playing castle and kingside. I ended up not doing it, but it turns out the white here is completely fine. And I knew after f4 that I could take and then play knight f3, and I knew that the engine would probably say that I was okay, and it turns out that the engine does say I'm okay. Yeah, it's interesting because, it seems like our king might be in some trouble. But at the same time, like, we're not taking this pawn on f4, like literally ever, because it's just going to totally mess up our pawn structure. We're just going to keep this tension here. If you ever do want to take on g3, okay, we'll probably take back towards the center. In the meantime, we have a very active bishop. We have developmental moves like queen d2, putting a rook on e1. White here is actually pretty okay. But going back, I play the move of knight f3, queen d2, and castle queenside. I decided to get the heck out of there. And here we have the move of e4. Now, apparently, I could have played the move of knight fd4. This is what happens to me sometimes, okay? Sometimes, I plug my game into chess.com, see what, the computer says, see what the review says, my game accuracy, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes it shows me a move, and I go, oh my gosh, I just missed that. And then sometimes it shows me a move, and I'm like, okay, why does that work? And then, it shows you a 20-move line, and then we're all kind of sitting there like, how am I ever going to ever apply this in a game? This is one of those lines, so this is more just to show you how crazy Stockfish is. But okay, I was worried about a move like a6 and then c5, right? Just trapping my knight, but apparently it doesn't matter if my knight's trapped. Apparently I can just take that pawn on e4. The idea being, if you take my knight, I take on f5, and once you capture back, I take on d4. Notice I've taken, quite a bit of pawns here in this position, and I'm also eyeing the pawn on d5 as well. If you play a move like really rook anywhere on the 5th rank, I have multiple moves that can kind of kick that rook off. And if you drop the rook back, then okay, we capture back, right? We capture back. And yeah, I mean, here we just have 3 pawns for a piece. Play a move like f4, 2 astounding bishops. This king is feeling the heat. Potential moves like e4 and e5 on the way. It's a little surprising, like the computer doesn't, give a huge advantage to white, barely under +1, but all that to say, I mean, it's, from a practical standpoint, I mean, this is just crushing for white. The other idea here is that if black, instead of taking on d4, if they take on e4 and just go, well, your knight's trapped, well, we play the move knight b5. This is actually a really pretty move. Just attacking the bishop on d6. And the whole idea is that if you take on b5, well, we're going to take on d5 and win your bishop. All right, so we're attacking the bishop, we're attacking the pawn on d5, and in this case, we're simply up a pawn. Black can even things out, but it turns out that white has the advantage. Black's pieces are somewhat awkward. Ours are as well. It's kind of funny. We actually have kind of a similar situation, a knight blocking in our light-scored bishop, and thereby blocking in our rooks. But we do have this move of knight c3 on the way, and we're going to start picking off these pawns like candy in the summertime. Obviously, guys, I did not mean to drag my knight over to a7, but to b5. But yeah, let's say, white here with a solid game. The biggest thing that stands out to me is that, black's pawn structure is just really not that great, especially this pawn on b5. And the second that you push it, your light squares become extremely weak. But okay, again, apparently against e4, I can just play knight d4, and I don't care if my knight gets trapped. And if, you end up, wanting to take on e4, And then playing c5, I have knight b5 as an option. So there you go. But instead I play the move of knight g1, just dropping my knight back. a5 is played. I just move my king over, right? Just kind of tuck that king in a little bit. a4 is played. I play h4. I'm starting to expand on the king side myself. Here we have e takes d3, and I decide to capture back with the pawn. I thought about the move of queen takes, but I was just a little bit concerned about the fact that black can just, you know, at some point jump a knight in and just start going crazy on the light squares. It just, you know, this queen on d3 at the end of the day is not stable, right? It's not comfy on that square. So I end up taking with the c pawn, which is the computer move. But in this case, black takes on b3 and plays knight c5. I continue with h5, and here I play the move of queen c3. Turns out that queen c2 is another queen move that's actually a little bit more sound, just because the queen's tucked away a little bit better, as opposed to c3. I play the move of queen c3 because I wanted to form a battery on this diagonal and make some counterplay happen. But, I mean, you know, why did I not play the move of d4? What's wrong with this? Well, what's wrong with this is that black could take on b3, and then play knight c4, and I actually go up a piece for a pawn, but I was very worried about bishop a3 here. I mean, talk about a massive attack. I have literally no pawns from a2 to c2. Black here has 4 astounding attacking pieces, and yeah, I mean, on top of that, when we covered the game afterwards, Noah was showing me, like, you know, black has this kind of idea in the air, and of course, if I take on a3, that doesn't help nothing, right, at least from the white side. So, yeah, going back to knight e5, I ended up, you know, continuing with this move of queen c3. And here we have knight g4. Now, this is a very strong move. I was looking at h6 ideas, trying to break open that diagonal. But, of course, this kind of stops that. And on top of that, attacks the pawn on f2. So I got to play, you know, a move like knight h3 and defend that here. By the way, that was another, you know, advantage of playing queen c2, is that against knight g4, I can just move this knight, and guess what? f2 is defended, right? So that would have been, you know, kind of a way to avoid this awkward knight h3 move. You got to think about your whole position, right, and how the pieces relate with each other. You know, you want to have attacking pieces, but you also got to realize, okay, what are my weaknesses here? This pawn on f2 is a weakness, right? The second that we move it, e3 simply hangs, right? So we got to find a way to defend it. We're a little bit underdeveloped on the king side, so black here was able to take advantage of that, and I did not have enough pieces able to support that pawn. Here black plays b5. I play b4. Not the best move. Really just not great. I should probably just play a move like knight d4, just attack c6, put some pressure on f5, and just keep playing solid. But I play b4. I'm trying to complicate this game. I'm trying to attack the rook. I'm trying to put pressure on d5. But here black just plays bishop e6 and actually cruises on to win this game pretty easily. After queen takes, here black takes on b2. And now has the intermediate move of knight takes d1. Now, at the beginning of this whole thing, I did not see knight takes d1. It's a beautiful idea. When we take on e6 with check, black can just take the bishop. Because if we take their queen, guess what? We're going to lose ours, and we are now down 5 points in material. Okay, so that's not good. So in this case, I take the knight. But even here, right, I'm down 2 points in material against a 2300 rated player. Queen f7, I kind of got to take. I mean, if I run away with the queen somewhere, this queen is just literally going to mate me in one move. So, okay, yeah, I take that queen. I play check. I try to save my pawn on b4. And the game continues for a little bit longer. Bishop b4. I actually, at this point, you know, some time trouble started to enter into the picture, so I stopped taking notation. But I think it goes without saying that here black just simply had a much better game. All that to say, one takeaway that I had from this is that, you know, when black does start to attack like crazy, there's a plenty of times where this actually is not that bad, right? It might look really scary, but if you just take with the e-pawn, right? Like here, again, if I castle, take with the e-pawn, knight f3, white's okay. White is okay. Now, you do got to grow in your skills, maybe a little bit of defending a position like this, but this is an option that you have available as a hippo player. Again, take with the e-pawn, right? Castle, and again, don't take this pawn on f4, even if you end up winning a pawn at some point, because guess what? This pawn is going to be the weakest pawn on the board and one of the weakest pawns in the history of chess. Okay, so that's one thing. And on top of that, there is some theory in terms of how to prepare for a system like this, you know, from the opponent, which we will be covering in a future video. Let me know down below what you thought of this game, if you got anything out of it. I thought that Noah just really did a good job of just improving his pieces, identifying weaknesses, finding holes in the position, and making me pay for my lack of king safety, that I showed in my approach to the middle game. All I'd say, again, thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you don't miss out on anything that we're going to be dropping soon. On top of that, I wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of July in 2023. For those of you that have not joined or looked at the Patreon yet, we have some added benefits, including exclusive patron PGNs to every single new Chess Giant video that comes out. And on top of that, a once a month session, in which case I go over patrons' games. I'll see y'all in the next one.